Welcome to episode 114 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Deddy. And joining me this week, a man who got to taste the rainbow and live out every kid's dream by channeling the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as he took the Three Eyes out for its first spin this week. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it in the diaries. Say hi, Gaz.
Hi, Gaz.
Baited.
Yep. I didn't know what you were going to say. So, no, it's good. Yeah. It's exciting. Love new characters.
Do you have a lot of unhappy things to say and a lot of bitching in the diaries about it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I'm supposed to say yes, right? People love controversy. I hate it. It's the worst class ever.
All right, and that's all we have time for. I'm uploading that straight to the Crimson Scales crew.
Yeah, that's it, for sure, because I'm sure they care what we say, right?
Yeah, 100%.
They've cared so much up to now.
On today's episode, right after our dirt sheet, we're going to be recapping scenario 18, which is grab and go. We'll be doing our amDirt diaries, where we'll discuss a little bit about the leaf, because I've had a couple of, thoughts about that. And on the Three Eyes, which you've just played for the first time. And we'll also be talking about Tusks in our Tusks review, as that it has retired. Mark has retired our Tusks. So, and this will be a little bit interesting because it's almost like rare reviewing a character we neither of us played, which would be cool.
That's okay. We were there. Like, we can have opinions, right? It's like we're watching sport.
Yeah.
We can talk about, we experts without actually being involved. We're like, oh yeah, they should have done this.
Yeah.
Or they did this really poorly.
What do you call it? Armchair coaching?
That's it.
Yeah. They're the worst kind of people, right?
100%.
And if we have time, and I said this last week, time permitting, we've got our time permitting segment, which is conditions. If we get to it.
Just like Matt Damon, we're just going to keep bumping it.
Exactly. And if we don't get to it, it means that this was a good show and we filled it with other stuff.
Didn't have time. That's
No.
right.
All right, dirt sheet. I have two things. Number one, and I said this, I was meant to do this last week and I forgot. And then I said to them, I'll do it in the playthrough, and I forgot again. Happy birthday, Whiny. He told me it was his birthday.
3 weeks ago or something?
No, I think at the time when it was mentioned, it hadn't happened yet. So I think between last week and now, it has happened.
Okay, so we've come pretty close. Oh, well, happy birthday, Whiny. Congratulations on another rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I hear, he's having a massive party, like legit, massive party.
Like
big milestone, big party. And I'm like, wow, why don't we have big parties?
What do you mean?
Like when it's our birthdays. Our group, no one really has a big birthday party.
Well, I mean, we had Game Mania for mine.
Oh, okay. We'll put it as Game Mania happened because of your birthday.
Well, it was on my birthday.
We went to McDonald's.
That was last year. This year, you guys brought McDonald's to me. The ice cream cake.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But no, it's really good. It's a big milestone one. I won't reveal the age because I don't know if that's like rude or anything like that.
Yeah, we've probably already said enough.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, happy birthday, Whiny. I hope your family give you lots and lots of treats and many, many board games. The other thing is 2.0, and I know this has been a running theme now, being a podcast around the game, but it's real soon, guys.
Is it?
Our shipment, I think we're beating Canada, by the way.
Yes, take that, Canada.
Our shipment is arriving in Port Melbourne on the 9th of June, which I believe is probably when this episode lands.
Yeah, that's like 3 days from now. How long do they usually take to get from the ports to your house?
No idea.
Can you go to the ports to collect them?
I know where Port Melbourne is. Like, I can probably go there and just stand there and wait with a big sign for the ship, right?
Look for the big ship that says Gloomhaven on the side of it, Gloomhaven 2.0.
Yeah.
Or stand at like the airport with the sign, say like Gloomhaven 2.0 Deddy.
One box, please.
Yeah.
But it means that unboxing's probably around the corner. Predictions. How many puzzle books are going to be in there, Gaz? How many do you reckon we'll find in there?
How many puzzle books?
Yeah.
Well, why would there be? I don't know. One? Is one the boring answer?
That's your prediction. Okay, we'll find out. I'll go with one as well. That sounds like it's fair. How many punch boards do you reckon are going to be in there?
Oh, at least 1 million.
Is that your final answer?
Are we closest without going over? Because if so, no. I don't know. Punch boards. I don't know. Is there a lot to punch out in that though? Because heaps of them are part of the characters.
Oh, wait, like all the, each map tile came from the
Mm.
punch board.
Oh, okay.
There's that.
Okay.
There's all the
Yeah.
overlay tiles.
I don't
There's all the
know. I'm gonna
condition
say
tiles.
34 punch
Oh,
boards.
all right. I'll go with 20.
Oh, now should have gone with a million.
No, it's closest without going over. I think that's fine.
If I'm over at 34, I'm over at a million.
That's fair. No, I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
assuming
Okay.
this, but I have punched Gloomhaven I think 3 times and Frosthaven once. So I think I'm around the mark. Maybe
Well, I have punched none of the havens.
that's fair. That's fair. What will the inside of the box smell like?
Ooh, China.
Yeah,
Well, that's where it's coming from, right?
I guess. I was gonna say Isaac's living room.
Uh, well, he's not packing it himself.
You don't know that. Do you know that for a
Uh,
fact?
no, I don't actually. I don't know that for a fact. I
Exactly.
mean, it would just maybe explain why it has taken a while. He had to personally pack each box
Why some of the original prototype ones that got sent out were a bit warped and all of that. It's because he was having a bad
because he spilled his
day.
drink. Yeah, he like knocked a glass of water, and it's like, oh no.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. No, we'll get to that. I'm very, very excited to have a look into that and get a video out so that other people can enjoy that. And yeah, fun.
yeah, I'm excited for it. Like this is following the same trend as Frosthaven, right? It's like, oh, who knows when that is ever going to arrive? Oh wait, it's here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely have to be having a look at that and talk about our schedule and what we're gonna do with it and stuff like that.
100%. It's going to be a massive thing. All right, let's recap our scenario 18. We had the 4 of us this week, which is great. It's good to see that we're consistent now. I think it's 2 weeks in a row without any disruptions. We had our 2 events. We had our city event 49, which I'm going to go out and say was a real bust. And this is what's really interesting about some of these later city events, because with Frosthaven, Gloomhaven, the whole Haven things, when you have the event decks, you've got the base numbered ones that go in. It's usually, I think in Frosthaven, it's 1 to 20 for each deck, and then as you unlock newer ones, they slide in, and they're higher numbered events. So this was a high one, city event 49, which makes me think, oh, this is special, and it was an ace the pickpocketer basically. The ace the pickpocketer ran through. Someone got robbed, and then it was like, how do we? What are we going to do about it? Do we run after them, or do we pick up all the coins that drop to the ground? And I thought on paper, that's fine. It was more the results that made me go, why? And that was that I think, do you remember which option we picked? Was it A for Mark?
You have to pick A for Mark because Mark had his PQ wanted us to pick A's.
Yeah, okay. So we ended up getting 15 collective gold.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if we dashed
Oh
up,
no! I think we did chase him. We definitely
we
did chase
picked
him.
B then because we knew that we were going to pick A for the road event because Mark only needed 1. I think that was it.
So was A chase him or was
No.
A pick up the loot?
A was pick up the loot.
Yeah, we chased him. We definitely chased him. But yeah, because then Mark was like, "Oh, I'm fine as long as we pick B for the next one."
Exactly.
I was like, "Okay, sure," because I didn't really want to pick up all the loot. I wanted to chase him.
No. And we chased him. We got 2 reputation and we got 20 collective coins. So if we didn't chase him, we would miss out on the reputation and get 15 collective coins. So when I found out that both of them was just money and a little bit of rep, I was really disappointed. And I only found out about this like when I was writing up my notes for this. That feels like a bust event. Like it's a 49. It comes in much later, and then yeah, it wasn't as fun or as exciting. If the other side had something more catastrophic or something really amazing, and not just a minor differential in stats, I would have been more, I don't know, accepting.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? Because to have a little bit of a chat about it, we talk a bit about when it's a flip of the coin and there's good or bad consequences, and that's a bad experience because you have nothing. You're not making a decision here. You're just flipping a coin, and either you get like I don't know plus experience and a whole bunch of cool shit, or you get negative going into the scenario, and that's bad, right? This is one where it wasn't so much flipping of the coin because you were kind of choosing, well, is our party the thieving party, like that kind of type, or is our party the like helping saving people type. So you are kind of following an alignment, I guess, of your group or of your party or if, how much you want to role play. There's kind of a little bit there for everybody. Or you can purely be a group that's like, well, I just want to metagame and see how do I get the best reward out of this. We're probably going to get rewarded better for catching the thief than picking up some coins. So let's go with that, right? Like that could be your mindset. But then you're right. When it comes to the rewards are so close together in regards to what they are that at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. Like if we're murder hobos and we're going to steal everything we can, or we're like the lawful good paladins and we're going to save everyone that we can. The end of the day, the difference was like 5 gold and 2 reputation.
Mm.
The reputation makes a difference ish. It's kind of seems to be like the morale of Crimson Scales. And I think if you get enough of it, you start reducing the cost of the items in the shop, like minorly. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know. It's a really hard balance though, because you don't want the other side to be negative, because then you're in this space where they have to choose the good one. But I do like the idea of it being a bit more risk reward, right? Like
I think that's
catching the
ultimately
guy.
it. Is that I wanted a bit
Yeah.
more risk reward. The reputation system being morale, and it was kind of like the morale 1.0 in a way, in that it was a track that goes up. I think in Gloomhaven, if you go up to the highest level, you unlock a character, which is pretty cool. Haven't actually checked if that's a thing in Crimson Scales. I'm almost certain it isn't. I think it's only linked to town discounts and all that kind of stuff. Well, and then morale took it to a different level because that was. I think we were getting a discount off how much we could recruit from the barracks or how many guards. Oh, and it was also linked to our town defense, I think, which also made it probably a little bit more important, right?
Yeah, I think it was linked to the town defense, and we could spend it to recruit
Yeah.
guards. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And this is why I think the reputation morale thing is going to be revamped or play a much larger role in 2.0 because it's going to have the factions, right? It's going to have the 3 factions where all of a sudden these decisions for the events are going to feel heavier and more important.
100% right. And I don't know how the system works in 2.0. And if anybody does, don't tell us because we really want to discover it ourselves. I don't want to know how the faction rep system
We
works
want to
and
be
all that.
disappointed organically.
Yeah, correct. Don't disappoint us in advance. But something like this would be cool if it was. You can have those 2 rewards be basically what they are the same. Like get 15 gold, get 20 gold and rep. But maybe you get the rep with a certain faction, like I don't know if there's Gloomhaven guards, right? The good faction, or you get like rep with the thief guild or something like that, right? And then it maybe kind of continues along that path. So I guess you're more choosing your path again. So if you are going like, hey, we really need to get more rep with this faction, maybe stealing things will get us more rep with those. So we do that. So there seems to be kind of, I don't know, a more specific reward. So yeah. Yeah, that kind of stuff I like though. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't feel the same when it happened, but now talking about it a bit more, I can see your point. Like it does seem very like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I wasn't as disappointed when it happened. I'm disappointed now, and I'm going to share that with you. Now you can be disappointed. Great.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. We had Rotovan 30. We were wandering through a blizzard, and we spotted the cave, which had blue light emanating from it. And we investigated it to discover there was an orchid inside. And they were meditating, and they had their eyes closed and doing normal meditating stuff, whatever that looks like. And we recognized, or it was mentioned in there, that we recognized that it was actually a frostborn, a type of orchid. And that we've heard that seeing frostborn can be seen as a bad omen. So what do we do? Do we do we take respite in the cave? Or do we, like, under the, worried about this frostborn and if they wake up and all that, or do we leave and brace the blizzard? And we chose to stay there because we were forced to, because we promised Mark we'd pick A, which was to stay in the cave. And it was actually, it was a more interesting, I guess, outcome because they woke up and they said, here, have a really powerful spell to help you with your journey. And then all monsters start the scenario with immobilized, which ended up becoming completely irrelevant because the first monsters in the game were already basically immobilized as they were deep terrors. But this is the kind of stuff I love, is that this is almost breadcrumbing or lore building, world building, we're introduced to this whole concept of a Frostborn that we don't know anything about, and it's kind of just, I don't know, dropped a little bit of that in there, and saying that they're a bad omen and all of that, and it makes me go, well, obviously this isn't in the Haven, like Isaac's world of Gloomhaven. It might be, and they may have just elaborated on that, but is this something that's going to come up a little bit later on? Is there going to be a Frostborn Orchid character that we haven't unlocked yet, or something like that? But it has me actually thinking about that, and I'm intrigued by it, which is why I really liked it a lot.
You know what would be really cool along that like kind of lore path? If
Mm.
there was a separate like book that you got, and it had all like tear to reveal type thingies in it. And then when you would encounter something like this Frostborn type thing, it would have really specifically, so you know it's not an event or an item or something like that, like a number, and you go to the lore book, and then you like somehow reveal that, and then you now have the lore about like that creature. Because then it's this balance, because you could do it with scenarios as well, where you don't want to dump information overload into the scenario like intro or outro, but you do want to kind of share because a lot of people do care about the lore, right? And that could be a cool way of like building the player's knowledge along with like the kind of party's knowledge because they're like encountering these things as you go along.
I really like that. That would be a perfect replacement to what Gloomhaven was doing with the achievement system with the stickers on top of the board. So it would replace the achievements, and you've got your lore and knowledge world book. And then as you're uncovering or completing, for those scenarios that, unlock this achievement, it could be like, open this section in the lore book. You now know how the undead in this particular world works, and that's your achievement. But also that could lead to, it's a completionist kind of thing. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, and just make sure that there was really clear that it had no game purposes at all. Like, we're not hiding any clues in here from the puzzle book, and we're not, if you unlock all of it, you're going to get some kind of reward. It's purely like a completionist slash like world building thing that allows that to do. Because the other thing that's cool about that is by the end of it, then you've got it all in one place. So if you were like, hey, I want to read the Haven lore, right? Then you could kind of flick through this book and you've kind of got all that stuff. And I don't know if this is captured somewhere. Maybe there's an online resource with all of it. I'm not sure, but yeah, that kind of would be cool. In line with what you're saying is that we just encountered this Frostborn kind of dealio. I don't know what it's all about, but I also don't want to have to read an entire like half page of information to find out what it is about on like force me in that moment. Like I don't want to have to be like, oh, hey, go read this section to learn about this thing. It'd be like, oh, unlock this thing, and then anyone who's interested can read it out. Anyone who's not doesn't have to. So
No, I love that. That's a really cool idea. You should,
we should have had that.
we should
Like
do that.
we
Can you
should
make
do
a
that.
punch board, a pop out advent calendar of stuff like that? Thank you.
Yep, and we'll have it ready to go live with Gloomhaven 2.0. Yeah,
Yeah, love that.
in 3 days.
Yeah, 100%. All right, scenario 18, grab and go. After grabbing the orb from scenario 17, the really powerful one that was whispering to us and it was all like freaky deaky, we exited the cave and we head through a valley only to discover more monsters attempting to prevent our escape with the orb. Which I think is fair to say is this is a transitional scenario. I think it's transitioning from 17, which was the heist one of grabbing the orbs and then running back to the beginning, which we did, to a pretty ho-hum transitional scenario into something that's going to be, bigger and better. The objective of it was when all enemies in it are dead and all characters occupy or exhaust on an escape hex, we win. There were 4 tiles forming a long, narrow gauntlet, each tile separated by a door, and the special rules were ultimately anyone who exhausts while not occupying one of the escape hexes, the scenario is lost. All characters start with immobilize, which was amusing because that could have also happened if we picked the other option and braced the blizzard in the road event.
Yes.
So it was like a very amusing one to come up for this exact situation and the exact scenario.
Yep. So really, there was a good chance that no one was moving in the first turn.
We haven't done a roll call in a while, so I've decided to throw a roll call in here. So Mark, who's playing a level 6 Tusks. The Tusks is a summon-based character who has the unique ability to ride his summons like they're mounts, while On his mounts, he can choose where they move and attack. This gives him so much flexibility with the top and bottom actions, as he isn't as reliant on bottom actions to move, which opens up different strategies. Each summon slash mount also has a unique gimmick, passive ability, or something like that, which kind of adds to that endless variety. Phil is level 8 on the gemstone still. The gemstone being a character that has this unique system called Crystallize, which are persistent cards with activation slots and are placed in the player's active area. Card abilities would generally have bonuses attached to them if the gemstone player moves the token on a persistent ability forward 1 space. These tokens can also be moved forward 1 space to prevent 1 instance of damage from attacks for each space that the token moves, making them quite tanky. So it gives them a versatile play style and a lot of damage mitigation, as well as various options to enhance other abilities. Gaz is level 3 on a fresh 3 eyes, which is such a weird character to call out, I think.
Is it called the Incarnate?
Yeah, but that's the spoiler name in a
Oh,
way.
sorry.
Oh
Spoilers.
no, I don't think that matters. But I've just been getting in
this
the
far
habit.
in.
I'm getting into the habit of just only using the symbol name.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah,
Yeah.
level 3, but I'm only using level 1 cards at the moment. So because I just started it fresh. So haven't chosen level 2 or 3 cards.
And kind of what's this rough shtick?
So there is, you are always in one of 3 forms, which is either green, blue, or red, or pink. And each of them will give certain bonuses when you play certain cards. So usually most of the cards will do something. So it might say, I don't know, move 2, right? And then if you're form, you get +1 to jump. If you're in green form, it might do a damage to everything around you. And same with the attacks. It might be like an attack 3. If you're in green form, then you get pierce. If you're in pink form, it becomes a range attack. So each of the cards, well, a bunch of the cards have form shifting on them. So you need to play them in those orders to shift. And it kind of plays like the Geminate in a sense where you're forced to shift, but you aren't restricted by like, oh, I can't play any of my cards, because they're not tied to a form. They just get bonuses if you are in the form.
No, nice. And I am on level 4 Leaf, which feels, I want to use the word support, but I'm going to go with utility-based character with the main shtick revolving around prayers. So prayers are like separate ability cards. They're in their own deck and they're off to the side. And they can be given to allies, granting them extra cards, which then they can play on their turn as if it was their own. As a result, the leaf helps to increase the stamina of their allies and has a variety of tools to assist the team with a bit of healing, shielding, cursing, and generally disrupting the effectiveness of monsters. All right. So how did that session go? So the party gets started facing down 2 elite terrors, deep terrors, who are blocking the door into the next. Oh, never mind. They're already dead, and it's round 1. Freshly rolled 3-eyed Gaz opens the door, and now it's an interesting time to mention that we went from an incredibly door-hungry group in most of the past scenarios into a bitch out, everyone plays late cards because no one wants to open the door now. This trend continues for the rest of the scenario. We're met with a mishmash of overlay tiles surrounding the door, from traps, difficult terrain, obstacles, and a collection of freshly revealed monsters in night demons, harrow infestors, and black imps. Disadvantage for everybody. We have a chat about how we're going to tackle this room, and we realize that no one really wants to go deep inside. This trend continues for the rest of the scenario. We eventually start to trickle into the corridor, and it's a bit of a back and forth between the party and the monsters, with lots of disadvantage attacks from both sides. Gaz and Phil make great use of their of the traps by pushing monsters into them for a lot of damage. Mark, who's now basically permaflying on his Warhawk, utilizes the bottom of his Gorilla to grant the team strengthen, and I can't believe I just said that. And Daddy throws up his shield and curses the monsters until the room is cleared. Gaz decides to do some heavy looting, and at the time I put this down to him thinking that since he has a brand new character, he wants to kit it out really quickly. I will also note that Gaz, for his first scenario, refused to cut his own deck, and forced Daddy to do it, which was fine until he started empowering himself. This is where I'll also mention that we saw more empower cards come up in this one single scenario than all the Bleeding Claw scenarios combined. The Night Demons, which we haven't really seen in a while, showed us why they're fairly feared in general, with some absolutely brutal attacks. But we did have some handy curses and disarms, making it manageable. And I dare say that the team dealt with this situation fairly well. Gaz gets particularly anal about coins being left behind, and with Miser at times literally written all over his face. And if you don't believe me, you can check the playthrough. We start to pick up what he is putting down and help him with the looting, although with move 1, loot 1, he's kind of got it under control. Once we clear this corridor, the team struggle to work out the door situation for the follow-up, and when it's revealed, it looks like a mirror to the room we just completed, with the exception of a treasure tile. The amDirt crew deals with this room in pretty much the same fashion, with well-placed force movement, forcing enemies to eat traps, blowing up the harrowers, and in general just being awesome. Daddy does mention that if this room is mirrored, the last room might also be mirrored, having 2 deep terrors, making it a fairly anticlimactic finale. But just in case, tries to farm more XP with his ward aura, Daddy Buang, which fails to proc, as Phil on the gemstone, who believes Daddy could be right, preps his seismic shockwave, opens the door, damages, pushes the deep terrors, which then get finished off by Mark and Gaz, leaving a very annoyed Daddy back in the corridor. Gaz grabs the chest, and the party take their sweet time heading to the objective tiles, milking whatever XP they could on the way out. Thoughts on the scenario? Scenario 18, Gaz.
It was fine, and I had a good time playing it, but I don't know if that's like massively inflated because I was on a new character. So, like, you just reading that out, it sounds real boring, right? Like, not as in your reading of it was boring, but like, there wasn't really that much going on.
There wasn't anything memorable, like really memorable, I think. I don't think it was boring. I think it was fine.
Yeah, that's true. Boring's probably harsh. Yeah, I mean, like, it's we played it on +1. We were like joking backwards and forwards about playing it on +2. I can definitely see how this scenario is tricky in regards to it's some tight areas, and 50% of the monsters you have disadvantage on all the time, and the other ones you take retaliate from. So like attacking is tough in this one if you don't have the right tools. I think we did have the right tools for the most part, and we managed to work our way around a lot of those issues. Like having strengthen through Mark's gorilla card was quite good, and that like in a bunch of times meant we didn't have to attack with disadvantage. It was just normal, which I mean makes a massive difference, right? So I think we had the tools to get through it, which was good. And yeah, I don't know. Overall, it felt fine. Like I had a good time. Like I said, I had a good time playing the scenario, but I know it's just because I was on a new character. What did you think? How did you feel? Because this is your 3 or 4 scenarios in now on the leaf.
I had fun in it as well. Because we talked about the difficulty increase, and I'm thinking we've got the tools for it, all right? But at the same time, you're on a new character. The way Mark made a comment in that first corridor room when we started to see all the night demons and all of that, and we were seeing how hard they were hitting, and the imps were, cursing and poisoning left, right, and center, and the harrowers had their big retaliate things going on. I think Mark made a comment of, "I'm glad we didn't do this on +2." And then halfway through the second corridor, he was like, "We should have done this on +2," right? Yeah. And it was, I get it in a way. It's kind of like it could have gone terribly based on maybe the RNG of when they're picking their abilities and when they're doing whatever. But you could say that about any scenario, really. If they're pulling their crits and their +2s at the right time and all that, and we're not, we're nulling a lot, it would feel harder. That's why it's so hard to pinpoint what's the right decision and regarding a difficulty increase or decrease. Because nothing really stood out as being a glaring problem, right, on either side. It just kind of worked out. Maybe we were very effective in our positioning and utilizing the traps and, giving them disadvantage and cutting things in half with, my Oak's Embrace and things like that. It's really tough to work out.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a tricky one as well because we've got such a uh there's a pretty big disparity in levels as well of characters. So having a level 8 character, so Phil's on is level 8 on the shards, right? On
Yeah,
the
gemstone.
whatever it's called, gemstone. So that in itself is always going to potentially carry a scenario, right? Not the gemstone itself, but just any level 8 character. We've seen this before when we've had really high level characters and we've kind of bumped the difficulty up. They tend to make some things trivial because the monsters that we were playing at the difficulty, like if we're talking about like an MMO like WoW, right? Or and what color things con,
Mm,
to Phil, they were greens, right? To me, they were probably reds. So
yeah.
if we were all level 3, we would have got absolutely smashed, and you wouldn't do it as on the difficulty we did if we were all level 3, right? Because it'd be ridiculously high. But that's kind of the so I think like when that person can take a brunt of the attacks and also deal a chunk of the damage, that makes that a lot easier, which means that I think I still did a few things which were all right, and I could play effectively. Mark's also quite high level, and he was quite powerful. So you had really two very decently powerful damage characters that were able to clear the way through.
Mm,
Um, so that's always going to make things a bit weird because then you bump up the difficulty, and this becomes the issue of you do that, and suddenly the lower people can't do anything, right? Like the night demons were hitting for 5. If they start hitting for 6s and have more HP, well, I really can't be anywhere near them because I'm just going to get one shot, right? You're the same, like with a low HP character. So what it means is that it changed things around. So maybe that is fine, what we want, but I think it's difficult. You can kind of find a weird balance. So, and that's probably where the difficulty scaling of the game is a bit skew if.
like someone mentioned to me once they've worked out what scenario we did, they said they really dislike scenarios with night demons and black imps because you get disadvantage on attacking them. And I mean that's harder or not fun, etc. And my response to them was, well, I haven't seen night demons in a long time, and black imps from memory, yeah, they're a bit annoying, especially when they're swarming. But again, I haven't felt like I've seen them in a while either, so I didn't really go in thinking that way. I was excited to fight these. There are creatures that we've fought a lot recently, like the cadavers and the chill brigade. I'd be if I saw them because it's repetitious. I think that's right. Too much
Yeah, they're
repetition,
all.
right? Of,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fighting the same things over and over again. And that can get a bit dull. But yeah,
Mm.
I didn't mind either. The black imps, I feel, were a little scarier than what I remember. They seem to be hitting a lot harder than I remember. And having poison and curse and multi attack and all of that, yeah, I found them harder than normal. Even though we didn't really struggle against them, I was more wary of them. And I don't know why.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, the black imps are the type of thing that can really get out of control because the multi-target, like 2 or 3 hitting and poisoning everything, just really starts to make the curses as well. But I think the fact that we've got Phil, who has that armor that makes him immune to poison as well, meant that we were able to spread out. Like one person was getting poisoned, kind of like hit and dumped on a little bit, but then we didn't have to spread the poison around.
Mm,
So it's a minor thing, but it makes a pretty big difference. I think when we were talking about overall how much damage we're taking,
mm,
because that means we also need a lot less healing because we don't need to heal the poison off and then also heal the person up,
yeah.
right? And then so the fact is, I think in the first corridor room there were 3 imps, and I reckon that we managed to deal with at least one of them before they drew any really annoying attacks. And then by that time, I think maybe we copped one like multi-target attack from 2 of them, and then we killed another one. So dealing with one imp isn't that bad. So I think it's yeah, we kind of did deal with it all right, but I get why people would say those enemies suck because I mean they make you worse.
Yeah, I feel like they hit harder in Gloomhaven, but I'm wondering whether or not there was a monster stat change from Gloomhaven to Frosthaven, because like in Frosthaven, I think they had that early card, and look, it's so easy to go through and check their cards, right, or whatever at the time, but I didn't. But they've got that 5 initiative create element shield 5 or something like that, at least from memory from Frosthaven, because all of the imps kept doing that, especially the snow imps from the imp deck. But I mean, they didn't do that. They did their strength of muddle reset, which that was it. And then they started just hitting hard. And I just felt like even their base attacks were harder. But yeah, I don't know if it was in my head or not.
Well, the last time we fought them that I remember, and pretty much they were on mass, was the retirement for my galaxy when we unlocked the bug, the beetle, right? And remember we had that
Oh,
room, that last room where they just kept
yes.
spawning and we had to kill enough of them. Uh, but I think in that instance we had to kill a certain amount of them so that we would kill the
That's
thing that was floating
right.
around punching
Oh,
us,
I
right?
hated
But
dealing with them then.
yeah, that was shit. But like I don't know, like I feel yeah, I'm not sure. They're an interesting monster. Like I have had experience. There's one scenario particularly in Gloomhaven I remember doing in real life that I think you, me, and whoever we're playing with, I think we tried it 3 times and we failed 3 times. It was like the first scenario we came across in Gloomhaven that we actually failed. Like we failed it, and then we came back the next week and we failed it, and then I think we went and did a different scenario. And then I dropped out of the campaign for a while, a bit after that. So I never ended up completing it with you guys, but I remember doing it on digital, and that's just basically one where they spawn more and more and more, and you have to do the objective thing. They are shit when they draw the cards because multi attack plus poison plus having disadvantage. Just this is gross.
Hmm.
But I think they're only a really big problem if they're in mass.
Yeah,
If
I
it's one
think
or two,
they're a swarmy. If they're, I think there might be 10 standees, which is normal for the imps. Maybe. I actually don't know. But yeah, I think if there's plenty of them due to some unlimited spawn mechanic, or that you're just in a room with 3 or 4 of them and they're allowed to stack and allowed to do their thing, yeah, they're incredibly dangerous. I think
so
with the numbers we had other things to worry about. And that's probably a balancing thing, right? There's night demons in there, there's harrowers in there. There was probably a limit on the number of, how many standees could be in that room, each of
yeah.
those
So
rooms.
I think as well on RNG, we did get a little bit lucky with the Harrowers because I think a couple of turns they didn't really do much, and we were able to disable them, disarm them, move them around, stun them, and kill them. And so, like, once you got rid of that, which is a pretty big damage amount, and then you could focus just getting rid of some of the imps so that they weren't a problem. Like, again, we just played well, which probably made it a bit easier. But yeah, I think overall, I don't know, overall it was fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I think you're right with the Harrower thing. I think they did that Shield Retaliate Initiative 2 thing, and every time they do that, it's like, well, okay, just focus down other things, right? Just
Mm.
pretty much like a rest turn. Does nothing. Kill all and escape. Is
Mm.
that unique?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that. I mean, I'm sure there are, but it did stand out when you said that was the objective.
Yeah. Because it was kill all and get to a tile or exhaust on it. And that got me thinking, that's different. Because normally
Mm,
escape space scenarios have an overwhelming amount of monsters where the kill all is not really possible. Or if you spend time doing that, it's going to completely, sever your ability to leave. And that probably also leads to that last tile being not so difficult and just
mm.
mirroring with the two deep terrors. But I thought, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I think I mean the escape scenarios usually fall into like two buckets, right? Like there is the one where you're not going to kill everything, you just got to get out, right?
Mm.
So you kill everything to a point and then you just jump over everything and you finish. Or they're more like this. And the other one in Crimson Scales I can think of is the Vermling run one. Remember where we were going across the bridge and the Vermlings were running, and if they got to a certain point, we lost, so we had to kill them. But that one, though, I think it was like cannons we had to kill.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a kill all, but we had to kill all the cannons before we could escape. So that's, I mean, it was essentially a kill all because we could ignore some of the other stuff, but they were just going to wreck us, like the smoke spirits and stuff. But yeah, having to kill everything. I mean, it definitely meant that you couldn't just run past everything,
Mm.
right? Um,
The only thing I would change or do is with this scenario, not that, I'm a designer, not yet. I don't know, I'd pick like one deep terror in each of the corridors, even near the door, just, I don't know, to add that tiny bit of something else.
yeah, I agree. That's what I was going to say when we're talking about the monster selection. Is that there was nothing really that was annoying to get to and deal with. The like we had that clogged up entryway when we came into the corridor, right? and then there was like a swarm. We had what, two Harrowers and I think two Night Demons or something
Mm,
like that. Which I mean, at the start was like, okay, if I go too much forward, I'm going to get absolutely wrecked. But kind of once that was there, you did have the imps that were, I guess, kind of the range thing. But there was, if you did have a deep terror in the middle of that corridor, sitting 6 hexes away, right?
mm.
The ability just to keep throwing out those attacks. Someone really has to go deal with it, especially if it draws the spawn something, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the in a kill all, that's the worst.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think I just mentioned in the Discord during the week when someone mentioned deep terrors or something else. It's like, yeah, like they are underrated for being one of the worst monsters in the fact that they can spawn things from their attacks that also have retaliate. Like that's gross.
They should
So
combine deep terrors with ancient artillery. Imagine ancient artillery that can spawn more ancient artillery. That'd be awesome.
that also it would be shit. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. No, you're right though. I'm curious as to. I mean, maybe it just became too hard, right? Like it would
Th-
just
that makes
make the
sense as well.
difficulty too high. Yeah.
Well, that's
So
already an
it.
annoying room to deal with all the disadvantage and everything we mentioned before. It's already pretty
Mm,
brutal with all the poison and cursing and all of that. So, just I guess for a party that may not be equipped to deal with that, that would be a struggle.
mm,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, okay. I think it's fair to say we'll put this in the mare bucket.
I will not remember it after next week.
All right, that's going into the Gaz. I will not remember it bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Ormi?
If as long as he doesn't get in the room, he's fine, I guess.
I think he would struggle because of us blocking it. He wouldn't get into the room. If he gets into the room, I think he's in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because he either kill himself on a Harrower,
Get
or get
cleaved
one
by a
shot by
night
a Night
demon,
Demon. Yeah, yeah. Or just get in the
poisons,
wrong space. Yeah. Yeah, there's
retaliate.
way too many things that,
Oh, the
yeah.
retaliate 5 on the Harrowers as well.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I've got this. So,
All right. Let's go into our diaries. So with the leaf, and I had a couple of notes for last week, but we were a little time precious on it. I just want to talk about the flea bitten shawl. It's MVP. This thing has just been phenomenal for 10 gold on a character that wants to be sort of be near their allies, but not never wants to be the main focus. And it's such a good investment.
mm,
I'm now, yeah, just trying to think of like it's so basic because it doesn't do anything. It's just this passive in the background. I like passive items. I'm not like you've got the ones that I think Phil has, which is the immunity to poison and all that. I think that they're good as well, and rightfully expensive. But I think something that does things more interesting, like I think there's boots that anytime you do a basic move 2, they become move 3, or things like that. I find those items quite interesting to utilize. Or you've got that helm, the plus 1, that you ignore +1 attack modifiers from the enemies. You treat them as
yeah, on my
plus
beetle.
zeros on your beetle. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like these passive items, and I would like to see more of them. I
Hmm.
don't actually know if there are like a lot more or how much more they can be designed around, but I think that they're intriguing.
I think they're good with the small caveat is that too many items that say ignore X or do Y right when situation arises creates a level of you
Imbalance.
have to remember lots more stuff, right? So it's not hard for Phil to remember that he's immune to poison or wound, although I forget all the time and I go to put it on. He's like, no, I'm immune to poison. Like, great. And if you're not using the app, the way you normally would do it is if you get poisoned and you grab a poison token, you put it on your mat. He can just say, no, I don't have that, right? So that's not an issue. I do it all the time with you. I'm like, oh, this is going to hit dead. He's like, no, flea bit and shot. Like, oh yeah, cool. No worries. You've reminded me. That's fine. Like, those things, they're not my items, so I'm probably going to forget them. I always remembered my like plus ones turned into plus zeros again because it's my item. But if you add too many more of those into the game, especially if they have other interesting like permanent abilities that
Mm,
trigger things, do things, you end up having to spend an amount of time watching for triggers, and that can slow the game down. So I agree with you. I love the interesting items like that that don't just do +1 to something, right? Or heal or get a card back. And I think the Flea Bitten Shawl is an awesome item for not only its cost, it's got a pretty big opportunity cost sitting in the chest slot, but even just seeing how you've utilized it, and where it's come into be handy, it's amazing. But I wouldn't want to see people with like 2 or 3 of those kind of items, because I feel like it would just, if everyone had like 2 of them, it would just become so many things to remember.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
So
Do you
so
think?
yeah, yeah.
Do you think? And this is a question without notice. The flea bitten shawl's too cheap.
Um,
I think 10 gold's too cheap.
Maybe. I mean, no, because I don't think it's like the attack is still going somewhere.
Hmm.
So it doesn't really it doesn't change the uh I want to say the calculations of the game, right? If in a round there's 20 damage coming out, someone having the flea bitten shoal means there's still 20 damage coming out, right? So it does, I guess, where it changes it is if you can divert the damage from you, say, to when I was on my beetle to my beetle that had a whole bunch of shields and items and abilities to do that, then that was more beneficial, but it wasn't negating the damage in a sense. We still had to have a character there to take it. So I feel like 10 is cheap. I feel like if it was 20, it would still be fine. I think if it's getting up to 30, then you'd be like, probably not. So I think it's on the cheaper side, but I don't think it's too cheap.
I'd put it at 2025. I'd put it there.
Oh,
I think it's pretty like really really good. But then again, I only have one study, which is with the current character I'm on. To I mean, it'd be probably worse in a 2-player game. I think when you factor in multiple players, it probably changes its value, and things like that. So yeah, it's just came out of my ass just then thinking
no,
about it.
it's a good question because 10 is a really low like cost for anything. There's barely any 10 gold items in the game, and those are like mana pots. I think maybe the amulet, the heal 1 amulet, is 10 gold. Maybe that might be 20. But if that's cheap for what it does. So yeah, I just think like the item can't be abused, so therefore the cost is not really an issue.
That's fair. It'd be even better
And
if
so
there's like an even more flea bitten shawl, which is 5 gold down the line, goes even later than the original flea bitten shawl. And then someone will be like, no, daddy, I'm even smellier and more flea bitten than you. And I'm like, oh no. And then I get crit.
that's it.
Other things with the leaf are trying to get the timings right of light generation and consumption, getting the prayers out, which I do enjoy getting them out to you guys when you need them. I think the one that helps you with, I think the one I've been giving you lately is the prayer that when you receive a condition, you can ignore it and heal instead, which is amazing. I like,
Amazing.
yeah, I like the flexibility. I think I gave one to Mark, which was penitence, which is he can ignore, change a positive AMD from the enemy to a +0 instead when it was being attacking on anyone. It just says when it happens. So it could have worked for his pets, it could have worked for him, it could have worked for us. Some of them, they just seem really powerful. And the other thing I'm loving about them at the moment is for odd numbered rounds in your hand size, giving you that extra flexibility of squeezing in an extra turn, which I think is like really valuable.
100%. Yeah, like where possible, I'm always going to be loving a prayer in the first round on my current character because I don't really have any burn cards or persistence I'm putting out. So I'm going to be going, well, to an 11 card hand in the first cycle. And so getting that extra turnout will not only will it be useful, but it's also like an extra turn to get the prayer out. So like the one that you're talking about where it's got 2 kind of trigger slots for the healing instead of gaining the thing. Like giving me that prayer, not only does it give me an extra turn so I get to make use of the other remaining card I had, but then I also use that turn to put that card out. So it's like double value. I'm going into round 2 with having an extra turn, but also now I've got this persistent rather than getting it in my 10 card hand like a cycle and then going like, well, one of my actual cards that I might want to play I cannot play instead of the prayer, so I'm not having to replace anything. It's kind of working really well into that space.
Yeah. And they get to, like, because of the prayer options, there's so many different types. They could have easily said, here, give this prayer to someone and it heals them. Give this prayer to someone and it gives them regen. You know, it removes it. So, like, they're built, you can play them into someone else to increase their strategy like the long resting we did with the beetle, right? That was only possible because I got to give you that prayer, which you could then played, and then you could enable that move to off turn while you
Yeah.
were long resting. Things like that. I like that they are. There's a lot to think about regarding them, and they
Yeah.
can really, really enhance someone else's experience. Post scenario, I hit level 5, and I got to unlock 2 new cards, which were, I always joke class defining, and these were game changing, absolutely game changing. And I'll very quickly just run down the 2 cards. One of them was called Devout Assistance, and the top of it is at the start of each of your turn, you may perform one of the following, which I can consume Leaf to generate shield, affecting 1 ally for the round, or I can consume Light to heal someone 3 at the range 3. So this is at the start of each of my turn. I play the persistent, and then from now on, if these elements are up, I can just do these, which is all right, and it's worth 2 XP. And when I saw that, I was just like, okay, cool. I'm more supporting, which is fine. It's good, but it's also heavily reliant on the elements. And one thing that's happening is we're getting a lot less grass because one of, you've just retired and Mark's going to retire, meaning I'm the sole grass generator, at least I assume, based on whatever he unlocks next. And the bottom of it is probably the one I was leaning more towards because it's a move 5. If you end your movement next to an enemy, you get to generate grass. If you end that movement next to an ally, you get to generate light. And there's a world where you can generate both, depending on your positioning. And a move 5 is amazing. And then the other one, Spiritual Gains, this one has me tickled, right? So the top is, it's a persistent that burns. Whenever you perform an action on an ability that triggers a lost card icon, place one of your character tokens on this card. And each time you perform a long rest, you can remove a token from that card to prevent you from losing a card during the long rest. Right? Every time you rest, you lose a card. So this prevents it. And it's this weird kind of banking investment kind of thing, right? The bottom, I'm not even going to talk about because I'm not looking at that at the moment. But my thought process behind this was, because this was really tough, is which one do I pick? And do I ignore both of them because they're both making me do something maybe I don't necessarily want to do or don't want to play with my playstyle? I'm picking an earlier card that I didn't take because there's a couple of cards there that I do like as well. And the other option then was to take the safer option, which was to then do the bottom of the first card, Devout Assistance, because that's a card that I can generally always use. I've decided to take Spiritual Gains. So when you left, I sat, because I don't know if you remember this, but when Mark was looking at his cards and you were talking, I was just deep in my cards. I was looking at them and trying to work out, can I make this work? Can I make this Spiritual Gains thing? Because it's doing my head in. There's a whole bunch of math involved and a whole bunch of that. When you left, I went back to my seat and I sat there and I played around with cards and just to get my head wrapped around it. So that's what I've gone with. And I'm very excited to see how it goes. And I reckon it's going to be an absolute shit show. But this is what I'm talking about, doing the more interesting thing, which I'm excited to actually try. But yeah, that's my story on Spiritual Gains. I'm excited to show you guys. And we'll see whether or not I have worked it out.
Yeah, I just a little comment on those 2 cards, and this isn't on your choice at all, it's just on the design of them. I feel like I get the top of Devout Assistance and I get what it's doing, and I love that kind of card. I don't think we see enough of them where it's an ongoing thing that you can trigger at the start of your turn, but you got to meet a condition, right? I think that's kind of cool. I don't want to see them everywhere, but I think it's cool when those type of things come up. But the shield or the heal both seem to be in the same realm, right? Like, obviously, I don't use the word support, but like, yeah, it's a supporting, right? I would love to see something like the grass. I don't know, one ally within range 3 gets to do an attack 1 or attack 2 or something like that. Something that is like not in the same, like just make someone better and protect them or heal someone, right? Because it's kind of, if you go, I don't really want to invest in that direction, then you're not going to take that at all.
Interesting.
Right. Whereas if it had been 2 different types of effects, then you might be more likely to say like, oh, well, I'm probably not that interested in the light one, although if it's there, I might use it occasionally. But you know what? The grass one, which is grant someone to move 1, or I don't know, whatever. I'm just making stuff up now, right? Like, you get what I mean? Like something that's really different to just like let that person be more tanky and or defensive.
It's funny because I was about to counter that by saying they've they've given that option because it's nice and easy to understand, and therefore, for someone who didn't want to go down the spiritual gains, obviously looks like the harder one to work around and work out how to make the most use out of it. This is the easier option for someone who doesn't want their head screwed by the other one, which is why I was looking at devout assistance if I was going to pick one of them. But when you say, no, 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 keep the same idea, just have a different thing happening instead of just shielding and healing, then I'm like, oh, that's actually very interesting. That's a really cool way of doing it and keeping it relatively simple that anyone can still understand it. So I like it.
Hmm.
I like the thought
It just
process.
seems, it just seems like it would open up the path a little bit more because looking at those two cards, like it's weird. It's the first time I can remember where I'm looking at it and all of them going, wow, they're really cleverly designed. But I don't even know which ones I would choose.
Mm.
Like, and I know I'm not playing the character. So I'm kind of like, Spiritual Gain sounds awesome. But I'm like, do you have the cards to burn to make this one useful, or are you just now forced to burn cards to make it? And that's obviously what you were trying to work out, right?
Yes.
Like, do you have any cards that you want to burn on a regular basis to then stop yourself? You're going through that process. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting level 5 decision, and I kind of felt the same with the Beetle at level 5, which maybe is a theme across some of the characters where they're
Mm.
like, here are two things, but you may not want either of them, but they're both really cool. And I remember the Beetle was the same. It was like two colonies. One, I think, +1 to everyone's attack, melee attacks if they're standing next to it, quite good. But the other one was like, I don't know, something I can't remember, push or something like that. And the bottoms of them were kind of fairly meh. But I was like, well, what if I don't want a colony, right? Like, you're looking at your two cards, you're at the top, but what if I don't want a top permanent burn persistent card? Well, you're shit out of luck, right? Then you have to go back and take a 4, which is fine, but it kind of feels bad because you're like, hey, congratulations, you've got to this level 5 kind of milestone. Go take a level 4 card.
Interesting. So ultimately, where do you sit on? You said it happened with the beetle, and it's kind of happening a little bit here. They're interesting. Like the decisions they're giving you, like these aren't just here's a damaging card and here's a healing card. Here's some absolutely class defining kind of how you're going to do things moving forward. You may not want to take either, and you may want to go back earlier. But do you like the idea that they throw that to you around level 5 and they give you this really quite large, character defining situation where you have to make these kind of decisions?
I don't mind it. I just think that, I mean, I don't know enough about this character specifically, but I feel like you need to make sure that you're not boxing someone into a decision because it feels bad getting to a milestone of like, hey, congratulations. And I'm not going to say you got your ultimate, right? But like using that exaggeration of like, hey, you just got your cool ulti ability and you're like, okay, I'm going to take stats instead, right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
neither of these two are good. So, I mean, just having a quick look at level 4 cards, I wonder if maybe one of the, and you'd have to change the numbers of them because they're obviously balanced to things, but maybe one of the level 5 cards should have been one of the options at 4, and then they switch. So you buff one of the 4 cards to be better, and it ends up being a 5. So you can kind of go down that path and have, yeah, I don't know.
I get
Like
what you
it's a
mean.
lot of design stuff that I'm not qualified to talk about, but I just wonder if keeping the options open there, because looking at those two cards, I mean, move fives are great, but I mean,
This
are
is,
you now taking a level 5 card for the move 5? Like that seems not great.
I guess, question without notice is going to be how much do the designers of these characters factor in the player from a respecting point of view, and how many people are going to be playing it completely rules as written. When you select a card, that's what you're locked into, no respecting, all of that kind of stuff, right? Because of the things of boxing yourself out from another strategy moving forward. So, for example, with, let's say I wanted to go spiritual gains, I'm like, cool, I want more really impactful burn cards. One of the impactful burn cards I didn't take, which was at level 3. So
Mm.
how much of that's, but that's okay because people will do their own rules anyway, and they can just, Daddy can just go respec and pick whatever he wants, or do what other people do, and they just, next scenario goes in, I'm going to pick a level 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to interchange them depending on the scenario. I'm just, yeah, it was more of a thought thing about how much weight, I guess, designers are going in on that, because there are characters we've had discussions around where you feel if you're not going to look into the future of the character and what characters they get later, which is a self spoiler, I guess, because I'm it's probably open information, right? Seeing the path. Yeah, actually, no, I'm answering it myself. That's probably something that you already can see all the cards and know what path you're going to take. You're just like clicking the skills in the talent tree as you're leveling up, but you're seeing what's ahead.
Yeah, I feel like they have to just assume everyone's following the rules and not free respecing whenever they want to, because you can't assume people are going that way because that becomes silly.
Hmm.
But you are right, like we're doing our own personal self. Well, I don't think we're unique in that, right? I feel like there are probably a decent group of Haven players who don't look at the level up cards until they get there. There's a massive amount of people who do, right? Which is fine. I think both camps is completely fine. But I think that's one of the things you probably have to consider a little bit is like if your path is so reliant on picking an order of cards, like certain cards at level like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for that to be really powerful, um, that's potentially a little bit dangerous with the character because someone can find that they've missed out on a certain card once they get to,
Yeah.
wow, this level 6 card is amazing. If you chose this other level 4 card, if you didn't, then it's garbage. And then you've got to take the other card, which isn't that great. And
Hmm.
that can be a weird thing. So yeah, it's a hard balance to get right. And I don't think they've got this wrong by
No.
any means. Like that's where like it's just a again, this reminds me of the decision I had with the beta where I got to level I think it was 5 and I was like, I don't really want either of these cards.
Hmm.
Right. And I chose one and I tried to make it work. And I think that's when I did start moving more into using colonies, probably because I had to choose one. But I found later levels, I wasn't taking my level 5 card because it's like, I don't want that colony and
Hmm.
whatever. And it's not like I chose wrong because I wouldn't have been bringing the other one. So I kind of ended up being high level and not taking my level 5 card because it was just like, it's not really what I want to be doing.
It's an interesting discussion.
Yeah. So,
Because
yeah,
kelp,
anyway. But
just quickly on to finish that up, I think the most recent memory I can think of is kelp. Right, kelp has two very distinct branches. There's a stab, 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 and there's bane. But bane doesn't really come into it until later when you suddenly get all these cards that much later in it. So if you choose to ignore the bane thing, therefore you're to go down the stab one, which is probably comes online much quicker, only to then get to the end and go, oh, well, there's this card that's going to make bane much, it doesn't live up to the stab crap. That we know that now, but bane becomes feasible as a build, but you don't know that until much later. Yeah, this is it's the world I think of knowing the cards beforehand, which we're not living in.
yeah, it is a piece of it, and I don't know enough about Culp to know how hard you lock yourself out of those things.
Mm.
Whether it's like kind of you can hybrid build, and I'd hope I think with a lot of the characters you can kind of do whatever you want, and it's like the playstyle thing. The last thing I'll say on it is it does lend itself to this idea that some characters should have extra cards that they just get at level up that are not selected. And I don't want to go too far into this because
Cool
I have to.
shit.
Yeah. So like, there's characters that and I'll use the Beetle as the example because the one I recently played. At certain levels, there should just be a colony card that unlocks, and then you just get it, right? Kind of like you do with your milestone cards, right? And I don't think this should happen all the way through, but I feel like there's some classes that are you need to get access to a new version of this if you're going down that path or here are the cards you get to choose between and how you're going to interact with that. The other one, and it kind of maybe it plays into a little bit of Tusks, which we'll talk about in a minute, is summoning classes. Because getting a like, hey, do you want this card with a summon on top and then some other ability on the bottom, or this other random card that does something completely different? You go, well, if I don't want that summon and I don't want to do whatever this other card's saying, I'm kind of like, well, what do I do? Whereas if it's like,
You pick an
hey, at
earlier
level
card.
5, pardon?
You pick an earlier card.
Well, you do, but that feels bad, right? Like it always feels bad looking at your new two cards. And again, this is a discovery thing because we play like this, but going like, hey, I'm looking at my level 5 cards. Oh, I'm gonna take a level 4 card. That feels bad in a way. Like you want people to be choosing the cool new thing. And so I just think there are some instances and again, it would maybe need a complete rebalance, but like at level 5, let's say with the Tusks, just because it's recent, at level 5, you get access to Blah Pet, right?
Mm.
Much like you do with the milestone card. Here, have this. You don't have to choose. You just get it because it's an option. And you don't have to take it if that's not what you're doing, but you can have it. You still get to pick between two level 5 cards, but you just get this pet. And that way you're able to like guarantee people have access to certain cards going up that are probably less like here's an attack 6 with fucking disarm, right? It's more like here's a utility card that can probably play into both play styles, but someone may not want to have to choose it to move forward. And I only bring it up because I've noticed that there was a couple of classes through Frosthaven that I noticed that with that I was just like, oh, I want more of these, but I don't want this to be one of the level up cards. And that was the same with Beetle. I was like, I want to see more colonies, but I don't want to see more colonies in my level up cards because if I don't want them, because they're not doing an effect I want, then it's like a wasted kind of level up. So
Are you creating a problem that doesn't exist though? Because if you saw every card that you had access to moving up, these new level, cards that you're unlocking become irrelevant now. You don't need those anymore because it's almost like at level 5 you're going to have 2 card options that you aren't going to use, but that's already factored into you playing the character. So you're like, okay, level 5 I'm going to pick my other level 3 because that's better, and then when I get to level 6 I'm going to pick this other card, and you already have it all mapped out because that information is already there for you. And your issue is coming from the way we're playing it as individuals. Therefore, shouldn't really be redesigned just because of our play style, because that information's there already.
yeah, maybe that's a good point. I can't tell because I don't play the other way, but I'm not sure. Maybe the disappointment of not being able to pick one of your level whatever cards because they're both not suited to what you want to do feels less bad if you knew that ahead of time. Right? You're right.
That's what
Maybe
I'm
it does.
thinking.
But yeah, I think as a side note, there are some characters that are really hardwired into a gimmick that requires cards, and I feel like there's an opportunity to provide them more cards because it does increase the power of the characters having more selections, right? It's just
Because
more
the hand
options.
limit stops that.
Yeah, yeah, that you're not changing the hand limit. You're just saying like, hey, here's an extra random summon that you might be able to bring, or here's an extra random persistent that might like live on the side that you could take if you want, and might be just more flex.
That would be a way of fixing summon like scaling. That would be one of the few ways, because it's almost like you're potentially getting a better version of something that you had to then coincide with you increasing a level maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, but look, it's a completely different system, right? Like it starts moving out of the 2 cards per level.
Yeah.
Although, like in saying that, like your character you're playing has an entire deck of cards that they take in to pull abilities from, which is really cool because there's no way you'd be able to jam all of those in to the card selection that you've got and have as much flexibility because you'd lose it all. It'll all just become like purely about playing cards that impact other characters. If as much of the prayers were just shifted into your cards,
Yeah.
um, but they're kind of like they put the word give a person a prayer, and now suddenly you go, oh well, now you can access all these other abilities that they can use in there. So yeah, it's kind of doing this different thing, and I love that. I think reading your character, so it's such a clever way to build flexibility into the class. And I think there's some other ways that they could do it. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so that's the leaf in the end of the diaries. How did you go with 3 eyes?
I'll keep it really short because I just talked ages about the leaf. Yeah, good, good. I think I found myself being able to combo my forms well when I needed to. A couple of times I got lucky. Once or twice I was in a position where I was like, I can't do what I want, but I wasn't really like, I can't do anything. I think the only challenge I had was when there was nothing to attack. Because like literally like all of my top actions are attacks.
Oh, boo-hoo.
So, pardon?
Boo-hoo.
Oh, like coming from a character where none of my actions were attacks, right? Like this is the opposite, you know? But it's not a complaint. It's more of a like maybe I need to look at the cards I didn't bring. But there's only like 2 or 3 of those. Or maybe it's not going to be a much of a hurdle or a problem I have to deal with regularly. It's only when we clear a room and there's nothing there to do. But it just felt, it feels bad when you go like, it always feels bad wasting a card. But when you don't have a card that you can be like, oh, that's okay. Well, this is a non-attack kind of utility type top action. I'll play that.
Yeah.
And with Beetle, not that I ever really did attack, but like if I did find myself in a position where I needed to, like, hey, there's nothing to attack or do or retaliate against. Cool, I can use the top action to play a colony.
I guess
It
that's
was
the
like,
difference. You always had something to do. Even if,
yeah,
yeah. Just because even if there's nothing to attack, yeah, it's an interesting point. I never thought of it that way.
So, but yeah,
Well,
but definitely not a complaint at all. It was more of an observation where I think the hardest decisions I had to make through the scenario was, okay, I need to move and do nothing. Which card do I not want? And the extra complexity that came up with that is that I don't know, like looking at the bottom of the card then, or the form shifting. I can't just pick one at random. Like, well, this attack three I won't do, because if it had shift into these two forms, I'm like, is that going to mess me up later in the round when I go, well, I'm actually going to want to end up in that form now. I've just gotten rid of that card. So there was a little bit of like of doing all that stuff that I needed to consider. So yeah, but other than that, I had a really good time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
there's a new condition that we've unlocked through your character called Enfeeble, and it basically puts a -1 modifier card into the monster deck. It's a -1 model self that they can draw. What were your thoughts on Enfeeble? Because that's pretty cool.
I mean, it seems really powerful, right? Like now we can have 10 curses in their deck and probably 10 enfeebles.
Yeah. Well, when I saw it as a -1 model self, I was like, oh yeah, that's okay. But the fact that when they pull it on their turn, it's their turn means they get muddled for the following turn made me go, holy crap, that's actually really good.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially good. I mean, and this is just RNG, right? But when they draw it on their first attack of a multi-target attack, which I think happened on one of the Harrowers, it was hitting two targets. The first one it drew was the -1 muddle, so already it's doing less damage, and now its second attack it has like disadvantage for.
That's true. Yeah.
What?
No,
Why are
no, no,
you
no.
doing
I was
that
just
then?
thinking about that was also the first time monsters get ambiguity,
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So we have to play that thing. Yeah, it's so I don't know. Enfeeble seems cool. I don't. It does seem really powerful. Although I've only really seen I think one card. Maybe there's another card that I can do to get it out there. So I think maybe I'll see how I can do to focus on that. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there have you picked your level 2 and 3? You don't have to tell us what they are or what they do,
Uh,
but not
I
yet.
think I think I picked my level two. I don't think I picked my level three. I think I'm going to do one more scenario with that.
Is there a snapshot of a certain playstyle we're going for other than damage and damage? That's really
Uh,
it, right? Damage and damage, or it does have a tanking kind of thing.
yeah, it's mostly going to be damage.
Yeah, nice.
I found the pink ranger to be which is the ritualist to be the one that gave me the most flexibility because I think it has a couple of cards that allow it to do a ranged attack,
Mm,
which was really handy when things have retaliate or when the group is like all clogged or just heaps of times, right? You can go, hey, if I play this card, then my next attack is ranged. I think is really powerful.
handy
Um,
when our frontliners are the front and you don't have to be.
that's right. Yeah. So I think combine that plus also I took the short spear or the spear or whatever it is that lets you
Mm,
attack two hexes away. So I have a lot of capability of just not having to be next to something to attack, which is good. So I'm probably just going to keep going down that path. But then I
yeah.
am going to start utilizing the uh, use item, use hand item thing.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to see
Use
what you
hand
do with
item,
that.
do more damage, and then use card to get hand
Untap
items back
items,
and,
do more
and
item stuff. Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
doing that again and again and
Yeah.
again. Yeah,
It's really cool that they designed a character that can do that kind of stuff, and they haven't done that before.
yeah.
From my
Like
own
this is
little memory.
what are you talking about? Are you referring to Gloomhaven class?
Oh, I'm just remembering a character you played from Gloomhaven, and that's the only reason I
Yeah.
remember it is because you played it.
Yeah, the thing what I like about this more is that it's focused into the hand items because the
Mm,
problem with and I think they fixed this in 2.0, but I think the problem with that character in and it's three spears if anybody's curious, but it was anything, and so it became this weird situation where it was like, well, I want to get back my hand item, but it's probably just better to get back my stam pot that does gives me three cards, right? Like, why would I ever get anything back? So yeah, it's weird. But I like this. I like this play because it links it in. The hand items aren't necessarily OP, but you can then use it again to gain damage. Like they're one of level three cards, right? Wants you to use it to get extra effects. And I think that again, I think that kind of that combo is cool. It's not just get them back and use them again. It's get them back, use them again, and get a bonus effect because
mm.
of it. So yeah,
Yeah, nice. I like the thing that you said. I'm going to go around the Pink Ranger, the ranged attacks. I'm going to use my spear, so I'm attacking from a distance and all that. And I'm like, what does this card do? It does a bonus if someone's adjacent to an enemy. This is real helpful. But I'm
It's all
not.
right.
No, 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 no.
Phil, Phil will be adjacent to enemies, right?
He will. He will.
He loves tanking.
Mark has retired the Tusks and has unlocked his next character, which is the Ice Meteor. Look out for the unboxing for that, which will be coming out shortly. Let's talk about the Tusks. Now, we didn't play it, we only observed it. We did our unboxing for it, and I think we came out of that going a little bit like, oh yeah, like, didn't really know how to wrap our heads around, how excited we were for it, but we knew it was going to exist. And I think on paper, I think I can put it as, from my point of view, probably one of the simplest classes to understand, but one of the most flexible to play. And I dare say, I'll go through maybe my three playstyles just in my head. Single mounted role. So pick pick the tortoise if you want to be tanky with the shield, or the panther with the disadvantage on attacks. Pick a melee DPS style. Pick a ranged DPS style with the hawk. Or pick a more of a supporting kind of thing. So that's like a single mounted thing. You've got mount switching where you have multiple out, which is similar to a Frosthaven character that you played, where you can actually just sort of mix it up a little bit depending on what's happening, or go full zoo and just have a whole bunch of auto attacking summons and all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on what I said earlier? Sorry.
No, no, totally. I agree. I think that those are probably the paths, and the cards aren't complicated. So, like from a complexity perspective, it's not hard to understand what they say, and it's probably not that hard to make them do stuff. Which, if we're talking about the ability to play, but making them all work together seems like it does have not a super high ceiling, because I think there seem to be some rotations that were pretty reliable to do stuff. But there's definitely some work there, right? Any summon character other than like the Bone Shaper, because you can get them back. But any summon character where the summons are burn cards has this inherent, like, you need to at least slightly be conscious about what's going on the board, because if they die, then you're in trouble. Now, the Tusks has a card that gets 3 back, which is great, but there are some you can't get back. So then you still have to have this balance. Like, it's okay to pump them out and then you get 3 back and pump it out again. But like, once they're gone, they're gone.
Do you think that's
So
included in the enjoyment of the difficulty? Because the cards are really easy to understand, but then the complexity all that then comes from keeping them alive and positioning and all of that. And then I guess the subjective topic there is that enjoyable? Is that fun? Is that a good puzzle?
I don't know. I mean, I played a character like, again, similar to this in
Mm,
Frosthaven, that I found fun, but I didn't focus on that side of things. Like, I tried to get my things not to die, but in other ways.
mm.
So I think it does. It gives you like some kind of uh, you got some kind of, like, what's the right words? Self-preservation in a way, right? Like, you care about more than just where your character is at. You care about what's going on. So if your summons are in the front line, you want to go early, right? Because you don't want to go late and they'll die. Because then you're like, oh, okay, well, now I don't have anything to do anything. So that then comes into play, which is kind of, it makes it interesting. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one.
It's cool that it's got cards also. I think I can't remember what it was. One of them that allows him to take the damage that the pets would take. I think it only lasts for the round though, but it's good that they implement, and I think you kind of have to, with any summon based character, ways to mitigate the summons dying at least for a round in your control. And only unfortunate, obviously, if the enemies are having their rest turns and not picking attacks and all that kind of stuff. But there are a plethora of things in there, and healing, and I think he's got some persistence in there that increases attacks, and even more so if he's mounted on a particular summon. Do you think the variety of options lead it to what I said earlier about being really, really flexible?
So I do, in a way, but I think what I noticed from him playing it, and then now after what we know about the cards we read through, is the flexibility of the character seems to come a lot with the movement, the free movement,
Mm,
right? and you mentioned this during our summary of like he was flying around on his Warhawk, and so has fly and move 2 or 3, whatever. So like really could go wherever he wanted. And found the same thing when he jumped on the gorilla, which was has move 3 and jump. So that point, and I know that it was aligned also with like getting heaps of crit bees, so he's like was critting all the time. But I actually put that down to the change in enjoyment that Mark had was his ability to do more, but his ability to do more was unlocked by the fact that his mount had jump. So at the start of every turn, he got a move 3 with jump, which is ridiculous,
Mm.
right? And it's even more ridiculous to have a move 2 or move 3 with flying. That flexibility in itself allows you to play whatever cards you want because you pretty much can go wherever you want.
Mm.
A lot of the other summons, I don't know if they do give you that. So, like the Panther doesn't. It's move 3. It's got Retaliate. The Mule move 3 and heal, which is great. Oh no, it has Retaliate. Yeah, and you heal at the start of your turn. The Camel is move 2 and it's unaffected by hazardous terrain. So they all have these cool abilities, but I think none of them solve the problem that you just get clogged.
Well, what would solve the problem would be playing at a lower player count, like 2 people.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. If you played it at 2, maybe 3 when someone was really not wanting to be in the front line, yeah, I can see that being the case.
Mm.
So maybe then, but the problem is you've between all of the ones I just read out, plus the turtle, plus like the ostrich and the fighting bull, is that none of them solve that problem. They're all like move 2, maybe move 3, get yourself into position. But if you can't get to the enemy, that movement becomes useless, right? And he was using the bull for the first 4 or 5 scenarios, which is only move 2.
Mm.
So with a move 2, that can be really tricky to get yourself into a position where you can do anything. The tortoise is move 1, right? So you'd really have to be aligned with your team to I'm going to be in the front line if that's what you wanted to do. Otherwise, you're really not getting anywhere. And stuff like that. So yeah, it's an interesting. Yes, I agree. You get the flexibility, but I think that it's also the jump, the fly unlocks the mobility of the character. I think it means that you can now do what you want. It's kind of like playing a third card, right? Except that third card is always move 2 flying or move 3 jump.
Yeah, okay. Mark was playing it as a very melee heavy, and I was just checking through its cards to see how many of them were ranged, and I can spot 2 at the beginning, piercing darts and pipe tomahawk. But other than that, because I was like, is there a playstyle then where you take one of those pets that problem of getting into space, if you're playing a more ranged version of it, that doesn't become a problem. That's just the playstyle. But are there going to be enough cards to support that particular playstyle? And yeah, I wasn't too sure.
I think the problem with that, and I agree, because I think that's when we first unboxed it. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you could just sit on your mount, you could zoom around the outside, and you could. Is that A, lack of ranged cards, but B, if you're doing that, then your mount isn't doing anything, right? It doesn't get to attack, which is less AMDs being drawn. And I think, again, one of the advantages of this character is that you get to control the movement and the attack of a summon.
Mm.
And that makes it really powerful. But if you are using range attacks, then you don't get to do that, which, again, is fine if you want to ride the mule around and heal. Um, but I'm wondering if then the flexibility becomes more the playstyle of doing a lot of hopping between them.
Yeah, that'd be
So
interesting to see.
turtle goes forward, sits there in attack. You have the mule at the back as like a healer type thing, and then you can kind of jump backwards and forwards as you need it, taking the damage and switching it around that way. Um, but yeah, like it just is a case of like once you get that milestone card and you get the hawk, it's kind of like I don't know why you'd use anything else. Like
Well,
move
he
3.
didn't, right?
No. But like move 3 with flying, and you can target enemies 2 hexes away with your single target melee attacks. So it literally does what we just said, right? Like it means that it's going to, and it also attacks 2 hexes away. So you're not wasting. You don't have to move into melee. So you get to skirt around the outside, turn all of your attacks into range attacks, right? And then if you want to, you can go in. It's kind of like all of the problems we talked about are just solved with this one thing. And
Mm.
it doesn't have the limitation on not being able to bring it back. So if it dies, you can use that resurrection card to get it back. So I almost feel that's way too powerful,
Yeah, okay.
right? But it's exactly what it needed to make the class really
That was going to
powerful.
be my next
From
question was, do you think it was needed? And usually these milestone cards, because milestone cards came in TOA, this is a Crimson Scales character, so this would have been made afterwards as sometimes a thing that maybe that character was missing or a way to enable a different build or something like that, that it was probably required because, yeah, it looks it, right?
Yeah, I think like looking at the card, like because the bottom of the milestone card is which is Call of the Wild for anyone looking it up, is summon the Swamp Hippo, which has 6 HP, moves 1, does a decent attack 3, and if you kill anything, it summons grass or generates grass. Like I feel there's a world in which you go real hard summons and you summon 2 creatures in that first turn, and you play it more as a summoner rather than a mounted character, and then you maybe play a little bit like Prism in that you then jump onto things when you want them to do certain stuff. Like I'm going to jump onto this and then do the take damage thing so this thing doesn't die, but I'm also going to play my top action being a heal. So I'll jump on it, take the damage, like, and heal. I don't know if you can do all that stuff, but you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
kind of, rotate around to use the mounting thing to protect and reposition rather than
Yes.
being like the mobility thing. So you're a zoo, but you jump on your animals to herd them around and stuff.
Gives you a bit more agency and control over their positioning and everything without having to rely on the cards that say grant a summon, move, and attack, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely looked like it didn't look like it had a lot of depth when we unboxed it. Uh, it looked like it had more depth once Mark started playing it, and then once he hated it, it looked like it didn't have any, and then he switched like kind of
You
angles, and it
respect,
suddenly was
yeah.
like, oh wow, okay, I can see like where this character has more depth. So it was like a little bit of a roller coaster from an outside perspective, and I don't know if that just goes along with the level up or whatnot. So yeah,
Would you play it?
probably not because like now that I've seen
I'll
it.
phrase it differently. We're about to play
Hmm.
another version of Crimson Scales. Like, you've already seen all the characters that we've played so far. How high or low on the priority list of playing this would it sit?
Out of all the just the characters we've seen, yeah, maybe because I did want to give the Bone Shaper a go because I've only really played one character that's plays around with summons, and so I wouldn't mind seeing what else you could do with this and play it more like a zoo and less like a riding one kind of summon to victory.
Yeah. Is there enough
May,
meat in it?
maybe. Yeah, look, honestly, it would depend on what everyone else is playing.
Mm.
Because if we had 3 other melee characters, it'd be like, not a chance. It doesn't make any sense. So,
Yeah,
what about
okay.
you?
No, I wouldn't play it. I for some reason I don't have a lot of luck with summon characters, and like I played the Snowflake and I had a summon and then died and then I cracked the shits. I had Cassandra on my Astro and that was a shit show. So you know what? I've just come to accept that I'm not a big fan of summons, and that's okay.
From my small amount of experience playing with around them in Gloomhaven and I guess a little bit in Frosthaven, is that I can completely see where the Bone Shaper came in as a design, and it did massively. I won't say fix because I don't think they're broken, but it definitely makes them more appealable. Re-summonable summons, right? Uh, are way more fun to play with, right? Uh, than this like lost card that you can't get back, or that it's going to be a lot of fucking hoops to get through to
Mm.
get back. So yeah,
Just very quickly, is there a character that you've played that you would like to that you would like to see played alongside Tusks? What character
character
that
I
you have played would you like to have
Mhm.
Mark on his Tusks running around with you? I'll just throw one out there if you're while you're thinking, just for
Yeah.
fun. Shackles. Do that with Infection Purge on the bottom, just for Mark, which is all allies within range 3. Whenever they receive damage, I'll take it. And I'll just focus on keeping myself up, and then he can just go ham with his zoo. Just so he can summon all of them out, and then I'll just die somewhere.
Yeah, that works. The other one that would work for that as well was the playstyle you tried early on with the Astral. I think is that what where you, if they're adjacent, they attack you instead.
Yep,
With lots of zoo creatures around, could also do something similar.
yep. I can die that way as well. Yep.
Yep, That's more ways for you to die. Look, from what we played in Crimson Scales, I think it would be interesting to play the Galaxy with this, because there
Yeah.
wouldn't be a shortage of allies to use. And in a similar case like the Banner Spear,
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's actually one of the starters sets. Those two together to be interesting.
maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think the thing with both the Banner Spear and the uh, Galaxy is that ally hex would get the benefit. So if
Mm.
it's bless or heal or do whatever you want to that hex, I'm pretty sure one of the Galaxy ones is a burn as well. It's like a burn, they get to attack. Like you do an attack, and then the ally in that hex gets to attack as well, which means, unless it says an ally, I don't know, I have to read the word thing. But yeah, from what I understand, a hex targets both creatures in
Mm.
there. So yeah, there's potentially a way to bust that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, before we unlock the remaining cards, Mark's very quick thoughts you sent to me. Thoughts on
Oh,
the
cool. Yeah, interested.
Thoughts on the Tusk? Really unique and fun gimmick. High risk, high reward. Good balance between aggression and preservation with utility and heals. Personally, made the mistake of trying to go full support, but it didn't have enough to really lean into it. Was much better as a skirmisher that could help. Stay front adjacent in early levels of or risk being blocked. Milestone and mid to late cards helped with this. I see this class being a game changer in lower player counts. In 4 players, it was good, but congestion on the board can lead to suboptimal turns.
Seems fair.
I don't know whether or not that means he loved it or not. I can't tell. Really fun and unique gimmick. Okay, I'll accept that as he enjoyed it.
All right. So what level did he get to?
6.
Okay, so we saw 6, yeah, and this is a good point, right? Like his level 6 card that he took, which is one with nature, is an attack 4, eat leaf to make it at +2. Bottom is a move 5, make grass. Like that is like so boring in regards to the text on the card, but ridiculously powerful. Like an attack 6 is great when that's your hit. So that's the kind of, I think, space that it was playing in,
Yeah,
like that. It's not hard to make it do what it wants to do, but you just got to make sure you're in the right place for it all. So.
totally. All right, take us away.
Um,
The
all
first
right,
7.
7. We have impervious armor. Summon battle rhinoceros.
Oh,
So this
okay.
has, yeah, this has 7 health, 2 move, 2 attack. So pretty good there. It is mountable, and 1 shield. Okay, so tanky and like good attack, and it's got pierce 3. And the text on it reads, "While mounted on this summon, you gain shield 1."
Bloody hell.
So you and the battle rhinoceros both have 1 shield, which is pretty cool. So talking about having a frontline like summon you could sit on, which we were just talking about, you could probably play around this.
It's
And it
good
just
to
seems a
attack
better
too.
version of the turtle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, cool. And the bottom of that card is shield 2, affect self and mounted summon, which again is a pretty good card to have. If you are playing a different summon front line, then you give yourself and your mount 2 shield for the round. Is a really good way of keeping them alive. So
Yeah, so the tanky based Tusks would cream themselves at this card.
yeah, so
Yeah,
cool.
okay.
Do you want to do the other 7?
Strapping Bullwhip. It's a Schneck. It goes at 29. The top is an attack 3, targeting 3 hexes and a little bit of a zigzag in front of the Tusks. It's an attack 3. Add +1 attack for each depicted hex between you and the target. Oh, wow. That's cool. So +1 for each hex depicted between you and the target. So the further away it is, the more damage it does. It's not a
So does
burn.
that mean it's doing attack 3, attack 4, attack 5?
I think so. Yeah, I dare say.
Hmm,
Yeah, that which is
pretty
really
powerful.
cool. And the last hex has an XP tied to it. That's really interesting. The bottom is if you are mounted on a summon, gain +2 attack. It's a round bonus, PS2. On your next melee attack this round, then discard this card. I love that card. That card's probably one of the few really interesting ones that have really jumped out at me. Not trying to throw shade. I mean that. It's got more words on it than I've seen on the other cards.
And I guess this is kind of the challenge. Is kind of going back to a little bit to what I was talking about with the leaf cards. Is that you got on one hand you have this, okay, cool. Here's this cool card, and the other hand you've got here's this cool summon, which I guess is cool because you get to choose which path you're going. But the battle rhinoceros seems like, because your character wants to be riding around mounted all the time, it would be cool, not that one specifically, but you want to be able to get a good summon that's going to allow you to utilize these cards without having to spec into it in a way. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's again, it's interesting. Oh, actually, so the other thing I need to say about the rhino is that you can't pick it back up
Yeah.
if it dies. It's
Yeah.
like it's one of the cards like the gorilla that you can't take back out of your lost pile with resurrection.
The other thing I was going to say about strapping bullwhip is if you're on the hawk and you're attacking from 2 hexes away, that probably gets even stronger.
That's
Your
how does that
face.
work? No, that doesn't work
Why?
because I'm pretty sure the hawk
You have to be
is
the grey hex.
you may target enemies within 2 hexes on all your single target melee attacks.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. I
So,
won't edit that out. I'll make it sound like you said it. All right.
yeah, that's it.
Level 8
All
guys.
right, level 8. So it goes at 86, majestic mass. It is a summon a war elephant. I mean, even just thematically, this is getting cool with how like giant
They're
these
getting
summons are. But
bigger.
like, we've got this little priest, we've got these little characters, and then some dudes bring in an elephant, right? So it has 8 HP. So far the highest HP, 2 move, 3 attack, and it attacks in a like kind of piercing pincer thing. So a hex to the left and a hex to the right.
Mm.
Its special ability is destroy one single hex obstacle adjacent to the target.
Wow.
So you hit at the hit a enemy, and then an obstacle next to it blows up.
Does that just happen though? It's not tied to the attack. I think it's just when you're on it, right?
Destroy one single hex obstacle adjacent. Oh, so just when you attack it. Yes. So you attack it and it doesn't matter whether you hit it or not. It just blows up, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm not too sure.
And the bottom is you or a mounted summon perform move 4.
Oh, okay. The mounted summon threw me for a second there, but I was like, who else is mounting a summon? But okay. Yeah, okay, because normally when you do a move ability, you go off the summon. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. The other one's Trouble Blessing, goes at a 46. The top is a Heal 5 Bless Self. Consume Grass, also affect one ally, like a character ally within range 3. 1 XP. So, yeah, okay. There's your support.
Wow. So
heal.
eat grass to do heal 5 on yourself and an ally and bless both of you. Yeah, okay. That seems good.
Yeah, with Taylor, would that be like you could do 2 other people? Because one of them would be yourself, but yeah. The bottom is a move 4, heal 3, range 3. Keeping up with the theme.
Yeah, okay. Cool. And then the level 9 is just Master the Reigns. So it goes at a 30. All summon allies you own perform move +1, attack +1, move +1 with you controlling the abilities.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is where you vomit out a bunch of summons, right? And then you play this and just everything just goes to town. And I mean, including that, there are a bunch of items as well you can get that summon things. So there's a world in which you can probably have 4 or 5 summons out very easily and just going like everything is going forward and punching. So
It's like a stampede.
yeah, pretty much. And then the bottom is place your character token on a summoned ally you own. This summon gains +1 on all its attacks. And it's a permanent persistent, but it's not a burn. And then it also says you control the actions of this summon. Wow, that's really powerful.
It's interesting because I was like, +1 on all its attacks. How many of them actually attack more than one target? But then the elephant does. And I was like, oh, wow, that elephant's actually the only one that I could quickly scan. And like, wow, that's really strong.
Yeah. So like this is an interesting card as well because this is then enables you to do the zoo build because you can be riding one, controlling that, doing that with another one. So you can have a couple of powerful them out and you can kind of micromanage them a little bit. Like if they're getting hit, you can pull them out and do stuff like that. So yeah, cool. An interesting level 9 card.
All right. Regal Beast goes at 81. The top is a saber-toothed tiger. I'm really disappointed. Goes, 8 health, move 3. So that's the most health now. It's more than an elephant. Attack 3. It's a mount. It always has advantage. While mounted, you gain your attacks cannot gain disadvantage. Oh, that's awesome. 6 XP. What?
6? What?
Is that the most XP I've ever seen on a card before?
Yeah, but it's level 9. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, that's weird. That is so weird. All right, the bottom is recover up to 3 of your lost cards with a summon action and immediately play them for their top summon actions. Wow.
Wow, that's yeah, okay. So that's like spew out summons.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, interesting.
that's cool. That's really cool. I think that's
Yeah.
a great idea, great class. Yeah, the only thing I'm disappointed with when I got to the end, I was wanting some kind of blue whale or a fish or something like that, and its power was like on water hexes, you treat them as normal hexes. And I'm like, that's so cool. Mostly useless, but at least, in a water level, you could be like, don't worry, guys, I'm fine.
I've got this. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I feel whelmed. Like, I just feel like this is more of exactly what was there through all of the levels previously without anything being, wow, that's really cool, or they pushed this into a space that is really crazy.
Would you recommend this character for a new player?
Um, Maybe the problem with summon characters with new players is if they don't understand initiative, ordering, move, like AI movement, right? Then they can get sad face really quickly, right? Oh, I didn't realize it was going to move there and attack the guy with retaliate, right? Or I didn't want it to go there. Or even when it's next to 2 monsters, I wanted it to attack this one. You're like, no, but it's the initiative. It's going to attack this one, and so that can get kind of a bit weird. But yeah, it's not a hard character. I think it's just that you'd have to take it slowly, right?
But if he played it a little bit like how Mark did and just went all in on one mount and wait, because you're controlling the movement and all of that on it, it would be easier to kind of grasp until you're more seasoned. So therefore, it might be still usable.
Yeah, possibly. Look, I guess from the fact that again, it's not hard to make this character do things. Yeah, yeah, that's probably a good point. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, well, we will wrap it up there. We'll do our conditions next week, maybe. Who knows?
Bump it till next week.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of a Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. We're going to have a look at our new party again on Monday. Thank you, listeners. We will see you next week. I've been your host, Eddie, and I've been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, if you want to avoid rolling terribly, you just have to get Daddy to cut your A and B.